Well, let us start. Am I audible? Okay. So, the last session, that is last week, we discussed about an overview of this paper. That means what is the relevance of this subject modeling and simulation in electrical engineering and engineering in general, and the approach and the tools. So today we are going to discuss about something more about modeling, system modeling, and then some aspects of computer simulation, and we will introduce the software MATLAB. Some of you might be knowing using MATLAB, but for completeness of discussion, we'll give a brief introduction about uh, the working knowledge, to develop working knowledge of MATLAB so that you can directly start doing simulation. So this will be the main topics of today's this I will show three PPTs. So first PPT contain more or less highlights this thing, modeling of several systems, important systems, important for electrical engineers. Mechanical system, mechanical system and electrical system, they are like twin brothers. Let me see, some people might be waiting. So you might have seen that, or sometimes you felt also that a lot of papers, lot of subjects of mechanical engineering are there in your curriculum. So this is the bare minimum that you have in your curriculum right now. So in our time, in 90s, up to second year, second semester, we were not able to discriminate ourselves as would-be electrical engineer. Most of the papers are mechanical engineering papers. So we are a bit confused what we are going to learn, mechanical engineering or electrical engineering. So with a lot of efforts, we could reduce the content from mechanical engineering and introduce new papers that are most relevant for electrical engineering in terms of today's or present day's technological requirement. Anyway, so important systems are mechanical system, as I said, electrical system, of course, electronic systems as well, and electromechanical. Electromechanical system consists of all three: mechanical, electrical, electronics. So they together are called nowadays electromechanical. Earlier days, electronic systems were not included, but nowadays the electronic system, electrical system, and mechanical system, they together form electromechanical. Then hydraulic system, very important one for practicing electrical engineers nowadays. In industry, in heavy equipment where you require a lot of torque or force to move something, okay, you need hydraulic systems, and the control system of the hydraulic equipments are electrical or electronic in nature. Thermal systems are also important for electrical engineers. Then we will discuss about transfer function and state space model, how they are relevant with respect to our subject, discrete system model, and nonlinear behavior. So systems are from time response perspective, systems are of two types: static system and dynamic system. Static system is those static systems are those systems which exhibit no change in the response with time. No change in response with time. But dynamic system, the response changes with time. For example, a structure, building structure, or Howrah Bridge is a structure. It is a static system. Okay, a building is a static system. And dynamic system, an automobile. An automobile is a dynamic system because its response changes with time. So it shows transient as well as steady state. Okay. Dynamic is easy to understand. An easy to understand method of dynamic system is if a system exhibits transient response followed by any disturbance or change to the input, and then the transient part will be over, then it will enter into steady state. Whereas the static system, they directly arrives at the output, the response directly attains steady state, no transient. Okay. And another important thing is that dynamic system consists of one or more energy storing element. Actually, those energy storing elements are mainly responsible for this transient part. In papers like circuit theory, if I taught you your section circuit theory, I must have discussed these points, but for completeness, I'm saying this. So static system schematically can be represented like this. Something you might have studied in system theory. Functional representation. So it's a function of input. Output is function of input. So a resistive network is a good example of static system. It gives you the resistor, the current change in current in the resistors will be instantaneous if you change the input. Okay, that's why pure resistive network are example of static system. If a mechanical system is built with all damping element, which is difficult or impossible because it will definitely have mass, dampers will also have mass, then you can say that system is static system. But in electrical engineering, it's possible, approximately possible, because if you neglect the capacitance and inductance of these resistors, then you can definitely say that it's approximately static system. See, these are all static system, dynamic system. So another thing, important point regarding dynamic system is that their input-output relationship can be represented by differential equation, linear or non-linear differential equation, depending upon the nature of the system, whether it's linear or non-linear. When a system is called a linear system and a system as a non-linear system, the easiest and most dependable answer will be if a system obeys the principle of proportionality, number one, and number two is superposition. Then it is a linear system. And if it does not obey the principle of superposition and proportionality, then it is non-linear. And the interesting thing is that if at least one non-linear element is introduced in a linear system, then the entire system will become non-linear. Okay, if one non-linear element is introduced in a linear system, then the entire system, a big system may be linear system, but if somehow one element of that system starts behaving in a non-linear manner, then the entire system will become a non-linear system. This is also possible. Okay, in electronic systems, it happens. It happens quite often because of temperature variation. In Hindi, there is a well-known proverb that एक गंदा मछली एक तालाब को पूरा गंदा कर देता है, like that. A bad element makes the entire system bad. So I told you about this car. See the dynamic equation, it can be easily understood from this dynamic equation. If you apply the physical law like Newton's law, then you easily understand that it's a dynamic system because its motion can be represented by differential equation. This is another important criteria or property, that a static system is always represented by algebraic equation, pure algebraic equation, whereas a dynamic system should be or it will require differential equations, okay, to represent its input-output relationship. In a car, the input-output relationship is force and motion. Okay, so in that respect, it's a good example of dynamic system. So you should not get confused because you are right now in third year. So you are quite mature, and after a few months, you will be appearing in the job interview. So the interviewer may ask this type of questions. Interviewer never ask, okay, write down, draw the zigzag connection of transformer, this thing, a very rare occasion. If a transformer manufacturing company comes, then only they will ask. Otherwise, they will ask very basic thought stimulating questions to assess your knowledge, depth of knowledge. So you must prepare yourself from now onwards. Very senior people will come and they will ask very basic and thought stimulating questions. So a system, so this part is important. Mathematical model. So you derive mathematical model first of all. In order to work with this subject, that is modeling and digital simulation, first of all you need a mathematical model of the system, as I explained during the last class. So how to get the mathematical model? It can be obtained in two ways. One is by experimentation. Another one is by application of physical law, theory-based modeling. That means one is theory-based modeling, another one is experimental modeling. So theory-based modeling you have already done it in system theory. Suppose, for example, you must have studied that derivation of transfer function or model, mathematical model of DC servo motor. So that is a good example of physical modeling. Another is experimental, that you are going to perform in I think this semester, identification of linear system. Okay, identification of linear system. So there is a black box. Its components are unknown. What is inside? So you already performed experiment or online experiment. Teacher has explained it. So what is done is a known input signal is applied to the system of some variable frequency, fixed amplitude and variable frequency, pure sinusoidal wave, and then the output is noticed. It is assumed that the system is linear, so there is no distortion in the sinusoidal output. The output will also be sinusoidal, but the phase, amplitude and phase will differ. Frequency will also be the same, input and output signal. We will apply constant amplitude but variable frequency signal, sinusoidal input. And at the output, you will observe the change in amplitude and phase. And from that, you have to draw body plot. And from the corner frequencies, you will estimate the time constants present, or the pole present in the system. The location of the pole you will assess. And if you know the location of the pole of a system, and if you know the gain of the system, then you can easily write down the transfer function, isn't it? So that is one way to find out the mathematical model of a system in experimental domain. But this experiment that I am talking, I just explained, is only for linear system. For nonlinear system, what is done? You apply known input signal, and for that you need some digital equipment for data acquisition or data acquisition equipment. So what you do, you apply known signal of various type. It may be a step signal, it may be sinusoidal signal, it may be a very well-known signal that is called chirp signal, CHIRP, chirp. So it's a special type of sinusoidal signal. If you give a search in Google CHIRP signal, chirp signal, you will see the detail of that signal. So what happens in chirp signal, it's a sinusoidal signal, and with time its amplitude and frequency varies. And in the output or the response of the system is noted down, or the data output data is saved, or you can say data using the data acquisition system, you note down or you acquire the output data. So you have a set of input data and output data. So set means for each input there is a corresponding output of the system. So you have a set of data. The set of data may be thousands or millions of data you may have. More data, more accurate will be the modeling. So from estimation algorithm, there are different types of estimation algorithms. You fit a curve by curve fitting. So by estimation you can fit a curve to that set of data. So that curve or the polynomial or the differential equation that represents that curve will be the mathematical model of the system. So this experimental method of modeling is called system identification, and physical modeling is called simply modeling. Okay, so in industry actually people perform this identification, and as I said, it's $1 million business now. So experts of system identification and modeling are very few in numbers actually, and they are well paid. And there is a toolbox, a full-fledged toolbox in MATLAB called System Identification Toolbox. And the author of that toolbox is a very famous person. He has authored a very famous book also. Anyway, after you get the mathematical model, you can perform three things on it. One is from control theory perspective, you can perform control system design on it, and you can analyze the system performance. And another important thing is you can simulate the system in computer. So simulation may be in time domain, it may be frequency domain, or in hybrid of time and frequency. Any doubt up to this? Okay. So model is a simplified representation or abstraction of reality. So it's quite philosophical. So the reality is generally too complex to copy exactly. It's also philosophical, but it's quite true. All philosophies are not unreal. Philosophy is based on truth. So don't look down upon philosophy. Okay, these three facts, or you can say commandments, are the basis of modeling. Anyway, so we'll be happy if we can derive a mathematical representation. Here it's a representation for us, for electrical engineers, it is mathematical representation. That is abstraction of reality. That means it mimics the system behavior. And we will exclude the unnecessary complexity. Okay, human being always wants to live a peaceful time or peaceful life. So we don't want complexity in our life. Also, we don't want complexity in our work. So as much as possible, we will follow the simple path, isn't it? So it may remind you the days of your JEE preparation. That time, the method which were simple and easy to adopt, you you followed that and left the complex one because that will be time consuming. So it's practical. So okay, so here I am not the author of this PPT. I downloaded it from the internet. Let me explain it. This is disclaimer. So here the author says that computer model. Okay, we can say it, but basic model are physical model and mathematical model. Physical model means the physical system. Okay, sometimes a tabletop model is also prepared, that you can say also a laboratory scale or physical model. And computer model, that means the transformation of mathematical model in computer, you can say a computer model. So again, all may be dynamic or static. I already explained it. Mathematical equation, it may be algebraic equation, or it may be differential equation, or it may be in some other form. Okay. Yes. What is a model used for? Number one, simulation. Number two, prediction. I have not yet described about it. For prediction, you need a model. For forecasting or prediction. Diagnostics, that means for this prediction and diagnostics are related. So in order to assess the health of an equipment, like health of human being, also health of equipment, as an engineer you need to sometimes check the health. It's called condition monitoring. In industry, it's called condition monitoring. Condition monitoring of transformer is quite common in power industry. And design, performance evaluation in design, we need to model and simulate, and also control system design. And it will not be an exaggeration. Being a control system engineer, I must say with full responsibility that anything can be you can make anything doable by control system, application of control system. For example, if a system is unstable, inherently unstable, you can make it stable and operational. For example, a flight. Can you imagine a flight without a control system? Because flight itself is a inherently unstable system. So with control only, with control system only, you can make it stable and you can use it for transportation of passengers and cargo. Good example. Burning example, you can say. What control system can do. From space exploration, you are sending, scientists are sending space vehicles. Can you imagine a space vehicle without any control system going to crash? Okay, so in order to design and validate a control system, validate means validate its performance, expected performance, how it behaves, whether it's meeting the requirements or not. So prediction and forecasting. Let us relate it to real life. So in real life, you may have a few friends, dozen of friends. Okay, out of that dozen of friends, you may know the behavior of some friends very well, and some friends to some extent, and some friends are completely unknown to you. So the friends whom you know, that means you know their behavior or behavioral model, rather behavioral model with respect to friendship. So whether he or she will share the class notes, whether he or she will help you during the online test or not. Okay, if you know that model, you can forecast or predict. Okay, we can seek help from that friend. Okay, if you know a model of a system, similarly, you can predict its behavior. or forecast how it will behave. So this is under the domain of called estimation. Estimation. It's also it's becoming a Jyotishir moto byapar, like astrologers. So prediction. Okay. So if you have a model, so astrologers also predict something based on their you can say some model. I'm not just bringing those. I don't want to make any dispute regarding whether it's a science or that how to say. Kusanskar. Not like that. I was interested a few years back regarding what is that actually. So I read 2 or 3 books, and then I found that it's basically a modeling. So you can say there is a bit of modeling and simulation in all sphere of engineering. Okay. So regarding the forecasting or state estimation, I was talking about. I intend to talk about this state estimation. In power industry particularly, people are very much keen for state estimation, how the various state of the power system is going to change, because it's very unpredictable. Okay, in share market also, the estimation. Share market is a very good dynamic system. And management gurus and people, statisticians, as well as people, mathematicians, they all work together in this sector to perform research, advanced research, to find out a dependable model. So many problems that are still unsolved in human civilization, we can get some answer or some way out using modeling, like earthquake. If we can prepare a dependable model regarding earthquake, somehow from past data or from scientific some exploration or testing or something, if we can make a dependable model, possibly in near future we can predict with acceptable level of accuracy the place and time of this earthquake. Similarly, regarding weather, nowadays the weather model using supercomputers, you'll be happy to know that India has developed supercomputer 2 decades back by indigenous method, indigenous technology. US, actually India was very much keen to acquire supercomputer technology, possibly as far as I remember from USSR that time. But USA as a big brother, they were not in favor of that decision. So ultimately they did some diplomatic trick, and as a result, that attempt was not successful. So Indian scientists, they jointly, they all made a strong group, and prepared supercomputer. The first supercomputer was Param, P-A-R-A-M, Param. Nowadays, the indigenously developed supercomputers are being used in space science, weather forecasting, remote sensing, and they have contributed a lot towards this forecasting. Weather forecasting is indigenously developed supercomputer. Okay, classification of mathematical model is very interesting. So linear versus non-linear, you already understood it. Then deterministic and probabilistic, so quite intuitive, you can understand it. Deterministic means where you can say, okay, with confidence, a level of confidence that, okay, if this is the input, this would be the output. In probabilistic or stochastic, there is a probability or chance of occurrence of when a system, say for example, electronic system, its behavior is sometimes corrupted by noise, then the output becomes probabilistic. So there are a few technical, you can say, solutions to overcome this. One easy solution is to detect the noise and the places where noise is entering into the system. You have to seal those places or shield it. In technological term, electrical technological term, we say shield. Okay, shielding the noise or filter out the noise. Okay, then the probabilistic behavior may become deterministic. Okay, static versus dynamic, we already said. Discrete versus continuous. So discrete system where the time you do not get the response continuously but at regular interval, that is discrete. And where you get the output continuously at all instant of time or all instants of time, then it's continuous. And this term is new: white box, black box, gray box. Black box, you already I think you are going to learn, that is identification, the experiment that we have told you, the black box. That means nothing is known about the system details. Okay, so white box, black box, gray box, these are three paradigms of mathematical modeling. It's beyond the scope. The details of it is beyond the scope. Just you know the term, that's all. Okay, it's just overview. So this is black box. Not that its color is black. So we know only the input and output, corresponding output. That means no details about, absolutely no detail is available regarding this system. I'm skipping this model. So physical law, I already told you. Physical law is, I'll share this PPT. You can go through it and get the details. So another thing is distributed parameter and lumped parameter. So as I said, during the modeling, you must exclude the unwanted or unnecessary or irrelevant. This is mostly appropriate, I think. Irrelevant complexity. Keep those complexity which are absolutely required. If you remove those absolutely required complexity from the model, possibly the model will not serve your purpose. Okay, because a model is just not a compulsion. Determination of model is not a compulsion. You want to work with it. You want to do some work with that model. So for particular application, it depends upon the discretion of the expert who is doing the modeling and his understanding. The model, the engineer or scientist who is doing the model, determining the model, he must know the requirement of the user. Otherwise, ওই শিপ করতে গিয়ে বাঁদর হয়ে যাবে. So you want to do something, you get something else. Okay, so you must know the requirement. If your model, your requirement is such that you must know, you must incorporate the distribution of, say, inductance as well as capacitance in a long transmission line, then you have to incorporate that effect in the model of a long transmission line. This is one example. If your power system design or analysis requires a model that you want to do some approximate analysis, so you don't require very detailed. So possibly lumped parameter model will be enough. You know the per kilometer or per meter inductance, per meter distributed capacitance, okay, and per meter resistance of the transmission line. Then you can model as a lumped parameter. Okay, you know the total length of the line, and you can determine the lumped parameter model like pi network, okay, T network, like that. But if you require an accurate model for some design, accurate design for can say guaranteed performance, then you require a distributed parameter model. Okay, now Another thing is sometimes the parameters of the model varies with time. Okay, so if your application does not bother about the time variation of the parameter, then you can take the average of that parameter over a period of time and work with that. Okay, but if why this notification? Who is he? Someone. I denied entry. His identity is hidden. That is one scene. Another scene is Solid. I'm not going to respond to any interrupt like this, late joining. These are all interrupts. Okay, so these are the points regarding the important points to remember about the modeling of dynamic system or modeling. First of all, you define the system and its components. You have to, if your approach is physics-based modeling, you have to understand what are the components or the subsystems present in the system. Then you have to find out the mathematical representation or the physical law that governs those subsystems or components. Then suppose you want to then you want to say find out the input output mathematical model. Then you have to substitute the internal variables, because the mathematical model of these components will be in terms of variables, and those may be internal variables. Internal from the sense that they are connected in some topology. Okay, so all the components are not connected to input and or output. So the components which are intermediate, so they can be substituted properly, and you can get an overall model in terms of input variable and output variable. So this is a straight cut way. Okay. And in case of this identification, general identification, this is done by toolbox. So software, you need software, computer, help of computer to feed the curve or the equation describing that input output behavior of the system, and feed that input output behavior to the experimental data. Okay, so you need a computer. So that is taken care of. This approach, this part of the modeling is taken care of by the algorithm, estimation algorithm. Okay. Now, after you get the model, somehow by physics-based model or physical modeling, or by experimental means, you need to validate the model. So how the model is validated? How the model can be validated? Apply common sense, and it says that, well, we can validate it by simulation. So you got the mathematical model. Now you know the simulation technique. If you can simulate the model in computer, so if you apply the similar inputs for which you have identified the system, okay, identified the system in identification, you simulate the model using that polynomial or differential equation that you have derived in the computer algorithm. Okay, you apply those set of data, and if you apply those set of data to the input of this simulated model, you will get a set of data from the simulated output from that simulation model. And if you compare the output from the simulated model with the actual output that you have derived from experimental approach, experimentation, then you will find some match or mismatch of data. If your modeling is correct, if your identification, that means the mathematical model or curve fitting or mathematical modeling, okay, the estimation of the mathematical modeling was correct, then the error will be very small, and if the error is very large, then you can say with confidence that okay, this approach of curve fitting or estimation of modeling was not appropriate. Then you have to find some other technique to, or you have to think about what went wrong. And in physical modeling, you can straightway simulate the model, and you apply some desired input. Okay, desired means not desired, but you say popular input. You can apply some popular input and find out what is the output. Popular in the sense, suppose you apply, for example, you have modeled a second order system, and the popular input for it is the step input. So if you apply step input to your mathematical model, and you will obviously get the response, and you know how the system is going to behave. Okay, so if you know how the system is going to behave, then you can easily say, okay, if the response is not showing the desired type, then you can easily say that okay, the modeling is not correct. It is very interesting, and in offline mode in the laboratory, we do this exercise. Okay, 50% student gets during the second simulation of second order system, they get unbounded response for step input because of some error in their modeling, conceptual or actual error. I hope you understood the concept. And solve the equations for desired output variable. So in that differential equation, if you put some value for input, you can solve it, so you'll get the output, so you can check it whether that output is correct or not. So this is a manual operation. For manually checking, you can solve the differential equation for a few inputs, and you can check with those inputs how the system is behaving. So simulation, here we are just referring to computer simulation. So you are executing the model on a digital computer. That is the theme of computer simulation. Nothing more, nothing less. So you are executing the model in a digital computer. That is the digital simulation. Theme of digital simulation. So theme. So you, after a few months, you are going to observe so many themes, Durga Puja themes. So it is, you can say, learning by doing. Okay, the most you can say favored approach of teaching learning by doing. So that's why these practical classes are required. So I don't know how many people, how many students take this electrical engineering lab seriously. But I personally believe the electrical engineering laboratory, the way we have designed and the way it is performed, in the worst possible case, worst means the teacher is absent, the laboratory staff is absent, okay, or some you got some or say you bare minimum support from the department. In the worst case, okay, if you can perform the experiment, you will learn too much. Too much. That means if you if it will not be an exaggeration, if you forget about all the theory papers, if you can perform the experiment, all the experiment with full knowledge, with full background knowledge, acquiring full background knowledge of that experiment, and after performing the experiment, if you analyze the experimental data with required amount of knowledge, that knowledge you will gather from your classroom or from library work or internet or anywhere. If you seriously take the electrical engineering laboratory, it is enough for learning electrical engineering. So, but students realize it after final year, final semester. So I told this during the last class. Suppose you want to do some retrofitting or augmentation of a refinery, oil refinery, crude oil refinery. So it's a continuous process. Continuous process is running in refinery. You cannot take shutdown now and then. In blast furnace, okay, in steel industry, you cannot take frequent shutdown. But your company got on consultancy work, and you are appointed as a junior consultant, say, in the group, okay, or an engineer, consulting engineer. So if you think that in order to give your solution, you have to shut down the plant and take measurement of many things and give solution, no, that is not possible. Nobody will allow. Or you have designed something and you want to check its validity, nobody will allow you, because crores of rupees are involved to run the process. So only way to validate your concept is simulation. So people will not allow you to spend to go waste their raw material and things to just to check your concept. So before applying your idea or concept or your design, people will ask you to give proof of your concept. Sometimes senior people I've seen in industry, sometimes senior people, the consultant, they become very angry with the management. They want to say something to do, but management is very much reluctant to accept that view because they cannot trust. If you are the owner of the company, you will also not trust at the first instance. You will ask for proof. Okay, you gave this solution. What is the guarantee that it will work or it will not make my system even worse? So in that respect, the client will only get some confidence if you can show simulation results with a dependable model and dependable approach of simulation. So with increasing complexity of the systems, particularly automatic systems, there is no other way at this moment except modeling and simulation. That's why we introduced this paper in your curriculum. So take this concept building seriously. So it's a test bed. So modda kotha hocche, simulation is a good test bed or test rig for engineers. So insight. So it's good for you fresh engineers. It's very good for fresh engineers like you. You are would-be engineers. After you get the certificate from the university, you will be called fresh engineers, or not freshers, but trained engineers or fresh graduates like that. Okay. So it's a motivation. It will be motivation for you to become senior. So you will work hard and put effort so that you get seniority. Not by time, but promotions. So based on your performance, the company will give you promotions. So you become senior. Okay. So for that, you have to prove your capability, your skill, your knowledge. So that is only possible if you have a good insight about the domain you are working. Remember, in 4 years of electrical engineering or in any engineering, what we can teach you? We cannot teach everything in the universe or in the engineering fields. Only we can teach you the engineering approach. Number one, engineering approach, the basic philosophy of engineering, and the various tools of engineering, electrical engineering in your case, various engineering, electrical engineering tools like network theorems. They are tools, modeling and simulation, machine design. Okay, these are all tools, engineering tools. And by doing the problem solving in it, problem solving, theoretical problem solving maybe, you develop an insight, academic insight. Okay, and that helps to develop engineering common sense. Remember, engineering common sense. আমি জ্ঞান দিচ্ছি না, এগুলো আমার জীবনের মানে কি বলবো অভিজ্ঞতা শেয়ার করছি। আই এম শেয়ারিং দ্য এক্সপিরিয়েন্স অফ মাই career, you can say. I worked for a few years in industry and also in research organization as well as in teaching. So I have seen all the domains. So from that experience, I can share it. So engineering common sense is very important, and insight. If you have a good insight about a system you are working with, that helps you, that triggers to develop engineering common sense. I have seen many people, they are very much so-called talented from academic perspective. IITians, many IITians I have seen. They have so ego, that ego actually, so you have to remove your ego. When you want to learn something, you have to keep your ego at home. So that ego actually many times acts as a hurdle to learn. They think that they are the, I'm not just, with due respect to everyone, I'm saying this as a true fact. I've seen it. Particularly it happened with many IITians I have seen in industry. They are very good in problem solving, doing sums, solving theoretical problems. But in actual practice, if you ask them how this transistor, BJT, should be replaced by another one, they will just go away from that spot. They will hide themselves for a few days, possibly. This is the actual problem with them. And they are not willing to learn from somebody. They think that they are the god in industry. That's why you will find many IITians, after passing out from reputed IITs, they opened JEE coaching center because they could not survive in industry. That requires common sense, engineering common sense. In order to survive in industry, you require engineering common sense. That is the only mantra. This is the only mantra that I can give you. And this is fact. You have learned many things. You can solve very complicated differential equations. Okay, keep it with you. If a motor, induction motor is not running, you have to find out the solution how to run the induction motor. If you open MGSA and start finding the solution, the industry will just throw you out. Understood? So this is a word of caution for you. So try to develop your insight, and that will automatically develop your skill and engineering common sense. That will be the asset with you, along with the knowledge base or tool, how to use the engineering tools that you are gaining from the department, from electrical engineering department of our university. So with time, I'm quite tempted to say this. Many people you will find, many guardians, they say many negative, they have some negative, you can say, mindset regarding JEE because of so many agitations and many things. But ওই যে একটা বাংলায় কথা আছে না, মরা হাতি লাখ টাকা, আমাদের সবাই ভাবে যে আমরা মরে গেছি, but still the potential with JU students, the environment in which you are nurtured for 4 years. This is unique, I can tell you. Because of that, for more than 4 decades, maybe 5 decades, we left a mark all over the world. If you go any country, particularly in US, UK, you will find many Jadupurians working in top positions. So disadvantage, of course, it has disadvantage, many disadvantages. বলে শেষ করা যাবে না। So you try to find out the disadvantages, then only you will understand what are the advantages. So I'm leaving it as exercise. Okay. I'm going to present another PPT. Just a minute. PPT. Oh no, this is not required. I have already opened it. Is it visible? Is the new PPT visible? Okay, so few words about computer simulations. Once again, disclaimer, this is not my creation. I have downloaded it from internet and I found it useful and sharing it. So this is PPT from very well-known universities all over the world. I search and collect those materials, those free access. So I'm sharing it with you. I thought this is useful, would be useful. So a few words about computer simulation. So this is quite already known to you. Okay. At low cost, computer simulation. The main thing is with the present technology. Okay. So computer simulation has become very cheap today. Okay, low cost, because depending upon the application. Suppose your computer simulation requires not much computational burden. Okay, then a laptop, a good laptop or a desktop could be sufficient. So you can understand the cost of the hardware cost of and software. If the software is very costly software, then the cost will increase. But if the simulation has to be done by yourself using very generic programming, say C programming or Python programming, then obviously cost will be not much. But sometimes the simulation, for example, weather simulation, that require maybe supercomputer or good workstation. So then cost will go up. But in general, nowadays, the computer simulation is accessible for everyone. All researchers can do computer simulation without much investment. So these are the definitions. So Ziegler is a famous person. He says that we can therefore define simulation as a technique for solving problems by observation of the performance over the time of a dynamic model of the system. So he gave the definition in 1976. Yes, once again, for computer simulation, first requirement is your mathematical model. Without mathematical model, no computer simulation can be carried out. All these already discussed. Now, continuous simulation. See, digital computers are discrete time device. Discrete time device. So how can you simulate a continuous time system in this digital simulation, a digital computer? It's a $1 million question. Don't get afraid. See, it can be proved mathematically that in a discrete time system, how we see the discrete time system? In a discrete time system, what happens? Continuous time quantities are first converted to digital quantities by A to D conversion, and then that digital data is fed to the computer, and then computer works on it, and at the output ports of the computer you get the digital output. And if you want analog counterpart, okay, you do D to A conversion and use it in the analog world. Okay, during D to analog to digital conversion, what is done? First of all, it's sampled. Okay, it's sampled. First of all, you take samples and then you hold the sample for a duration during which the conversion, A to D conversion, would be finished. Okay, now if your conversion time is very small, say a few microseconds, okay, so you can it is possible to take samples at a very fast rate. So this conversion and this conversion time and the sampling time, okay, they should be properly matched. Now, if you can take very large number of samples per second, that means the sampling frequency, depending upon your small conversion time. If your conversion time is very small, then you can take large number of samples in a unit time. So it can be proved that if you can increase the sampling frequency, your performance of the digital system, output from the digital system, can be very similar to the continuous time system. So theoretically, if you can perform if you can do the sampling at infinite frequency, if your sampling frequency is infinite, then the digital system will theoretically behave like a continuous time system. There are many bottlenecks in this part. Although it is possible to take large number of samples in a unit time, that means if you can go on increasing sampling frequency, what will happen? Large number of samples will be ready in your buffer. Large number of samples will be ready, and you will convert the samples with very fast converter. And what will happen? All these digital numbers, binary numbers, for example, will go on storing in the buffers, input buffer of the computer, of the input port. But if the computer itself is slow, because of its clock of the computer is not that much fast, or main bottleneck in a digital computer is data bus. The bus speed is not that much high as the clock speed. It's much less. For example, if suppose your computer is operating at few gigahertz, say 1 gigahertz, but your bus speed will be few megahertz only, say 500 megahertz maximum. Okay, that is the main bottleneck. Speed of the RAM, many bottlenecks are there. RAM also has a certain speed to operate. Although your manufacturer or supplier of the computer will say, okay, the speed of the computer is this much. That is the clock speed. That is not the exact speed of operation of the computer. Actually, the lowest speed of operation all the time, almost always, is the speed of the memory, the RAM. That actually dictates the speed of operation of the computer. So if your RAM is slow, if your data bus is slow, then what is the use of application of that very fast A to D converter, spending a lot of money? So that's why we optimize the sampling frequency. Okay. So theoretically, it's possible that if you go on increasing the sampling or speed of operation of the computer, if suppose we do not we are not interested about A to D converter. If we can assume that the computer itself, the clock speed and all the components inside the computer can operate at infinitely fast, then you can say that the digital computer will give similar performance as analog system, okay, or continuous time system. That's why we want faster computers. The computer speed depends on hardware resources, like, of course, the clock, the CPU, operation of the CPU, the memory, the fast operation of the memory, and data bus. If you are not happy with this digital computer regarding its performance, then the only option is analog simulator. Analog simulator operates as the speed of light. You have one experiment, an analog simulation of second order system. Sometimes in some scientific applications, we also require analog simulation. We do that with operational amplifiers. ODE. So ordinary differential equation solver, ODE solver, is the heart of any computer simulation. Because most of the system of interest in engineering are dynamic systems. Most of the systems of interest in engineering are dynamic systems. So they are represented by what? Differential equations. So in order to know the output for a particular input, you have to solve the differential equation. Okay, so you need some algorithm for solving ODE. That is called ODE solver in digital simulation environment. Like Runge-Kutta, all numerical method, RK method, Runge-Kutta method. Okay, it's a very popular one. ODE45 is another popular algorithm. Like that, many algorithms are there. In MATLAB, you will get 5 or 6 such ODE solvers. Discrete event, I'm not touching this because it's a special case. Discrete event system, not discrete event modeling. Discrete event modeling is a different different domain actually. Okay, so the last one for today's class, I'm going to show you MATLAB. So I think all of you are interested about MATLAB. You already forgot the name of the paper. The first day your friend called me, so I asked, "Sir, when you are going to teach us MATLAB?" I scolded him. Tell the name of the paper correctly. You are not doing justice to the paper. Okay, so basic tutorial. Once again, disclaimer, it's not my creation. It's not my creation. So some of you who have done some advanced study on MATLAB previously might be already known, but for completeness, have patience. It will be a revision for you also. So what is MATLAB? MATLAB stands for Matrix Laboratory. MAT means matrix, lab means laboratory. So it appeared in the market in, I think, as far as I remember, in late 80s. Okay, MATLAB language was written in Fortran that time. So it was a mathematical tool that time. So mathematicians mainly used it. It was written in Fortran because you know that Fortran is very good in running mathematical algorithms because it has some features which are useful for mathematical implementation of mathematical algorithms. So even today, although Java has been greatly introduced in MATLAB in the present version, but still some part of MATLAB is in Fortran that are not directly accessible. They are given in terms of library, and a Java wrapper is there over that core library. So its command window looks like. Is it visible to all of you? Okay. So the command window of MATLAB looks like this. If you open MATLAB, this area showing two this small arrow-like appearance. This is the command prompt. So this is the command prompt of MATLAB. In MATLAB, there are two, you can say, environment. One is script file. That is the very generic. If you want to do generic programming with MATLAB, that is, if you go on file, then it will show M file, new M file. So extension is M, .m. So that's a M file. So you can open M file and write down your script. Otherwise, you can perform all the calculations that is possible with MATLAB in the command prompt. But what happens? Every time you want to carry out the similar calculation or similar mathematical work, you have to type all those commands. So in order to do shortcut, what we do, we write M file. Okay. Calling the command at the command prompt can be done by writing that command in the script file or M file. If you run that M file, all the commands will be carried out sequentially. That is the concept. And you can save that M file and use it later, reuse it for later use. That is the advantage. Another environment is Simulink. You can see one small colorful icon over here. This is Simulink. If you click it, a new window will open, and that will give you few icons, graphical icons. All the icons are you can say already inbuilt functions basically, and they can mimic some dynamic systems. For example, there will be icons of integrator. There will be icons for summer. There will be icons for oscilloscope, like that. All physical system. Their behavior has been mimicked over here, input-output behavior. So if you just select those icons, graphical, this GUI based. So there will be in a particular window, you will get a set of tools or icons. Okay. So you can you can open one simulation environment, and here you can drag and drop all those elements and connect them, and you can develop a model very similar to on one system. You can make by querying various components. That is the Simulink. The advantage of Simulink is that you need not worry about writing all the lengthy codes for an integrator, for an oscilloscope. It is there. You just use them. And another thing is that you can call the appropriate ODE solver, inbuilt ODE solver. That, and it can perform simulation with respect to time, because with respect to time you need to carry out integration, ODE solving ODE every instant of time. Let me explain it. Suppose you have a one differential equation representing a second order dynamic system. So in a second order dynamic system, if you give a step input, okay, you want to plot the output of the second order system. So what you need to do? You will select few points, few specific point of the step signal, and you will substitute that value corresponding to that step input for some instant of time to the differential equation. Suppose at 0, t is equal to 0, you took some value. At t is equal to 1, you took some value, step input or any other input. Okay, you have to substitute those particular value to that differential equation and solve the differential equation, and you'll get the output. Then only you can plot those points in the graph paper and make a continuous graph by interpolation. You can do the same job in Simulink without much effort. You just connect all those blocks, a transfer function block, and you put the transfer function of a second order system over there. You connect one step input or any other input available in the Simulink, or you can generate your own signal. There is a signal generator part or S function. Many techniques are there. I'll explain them later on. And you can observe the output at the oscilloscope in the simulated oscilloscope, of course, in the Simulink. And you choose the particular ODE solver and you run the simulation. You'll see the nice curve corresponding to the output. So everything is done. So every instant of time, what you did manually, the solving the differential equation, that becomes a cumbersome work. For a large number of points, you have to solve the differential equation so many times. So that is being done by the. If you want to, for every instant of time, you have to solve the differential equation to get a time response. So that has been carried out by Simulink automatically. So this can be carried out in S function in M file also. There you have to manually call the ODE solver and run the script file as you did in other programming languages. Another important feature of MATLAB is that is interpreter. MATLAB is basically one interpreter based environment. Here you can run the program and do the corrections and run them again. You need not build it. So in compiler based program, what you need, you have to specify all the header files, you have to specify all the libraries, you have to specify the proper path of the library and so on. You have to build a link, okay, and then finally if everything is okay, then it will run. So it's a time consuming process, the building of the entire thing. So if something goes wrong, you have to build it again. And sometimes the building is, if you have a very large library, then building the library is not a matter of joke. Building with that very big library is not a matter of joke. It takes a quite good amount of time. Recently, I did one experiment. At home, I have made a small laboratory like environment in my study room. I took one Raspberry Pi and built the OpenCV library, and it took more than 24 hours for me. So, although it's a very small computer, the Raspberry Pi is a very small computer. So that's why it took so much time. So this is one extreme example. In laptop, it may be a bit less, but still it takes a certain amount of time. So in that respect, for simulation purpose, where you need to interact with the simulation software or simulation environment quite frequently, it is helpful. Interpreter-based environment is helpful. In interpreter environment, every line is first converted to binary and then run. And if it is okay, then it goes to the next line. It works like that. So functions in MATLAB, like C languages, it is syntax-wise. MATLAB and C are very similar. There are many similarities in C programming and MATLAB. So those who are good in C programming will find this MATLAB very easy to learn. Okay. So help. There is a good command called help. If you write help and then enter, then all the functions that are given in your particular MATLAB version will be shown. But if you know particular function name, okay, for example, here it is going to find string. Str means string, find string. So if you write help and give a gap, just one gap, one space bar, then finds str. That means any particular function name, then it will show every details, necessary details of using that function. What is its format? Also example. Very nice. Another few comments: who or whose current workspace. So there is a concept called workspace. Workspace is a memory space basically, where MATLAB keeps all the working variables. Variables on which the MATLAB is working, variables, various data, okay, they are kept for temporary. It's a temporary storage, just like a rough copy. If you exit the MATLAB session, everything what is there in the workspace is lost. So you can if you do not save the content of the workspace in a file, then everything will be lost after you either shut down the computer or if you exit the MATLAB session. So it's a temporary working space of the MATLAB. So what is there, the who or whose, that shows the current workspace variable. What variables are there stored in the workspace on which the MATLAB session is working, you can know by the command whose. Command means they are functions. We can call them by their name directly in the command prompt. Those two arrow, this is command prompt. Here you can write down, so help is a command, okay, or function. Save, you can save the workspace to a mat file. All the data related files are saved with the extension .mat in the MATLAB. So it's a mat file. The workspace will be saved as a mat file. Load means if you have previous session, you have saved the variables in the previous session, then you can load that particular mat file using load command. Clear all, it will clear all the workspace. Sometimes you want to work, you don't want to quit the MATLAB session, but you want to work on a different program. So you want to use same variables of the same name. So if you don't remove the previous content of the workspace, possibly your result will be ambiguous. So that's why you need to clear the variables in the present in the workspace by running this command. Clear, then a gap, then all. Gap is given by this space bar. Close all. In order to figure, in MATLAB there is a good support of figures and graphs. Okay, so close all means it will close all the figures. CLC is a very important. Sometimes your monitor has been occupied by all the variables, all calculations. So you want to clear them all. So CLC clears your screen, but it does not remove anything from the workspace. Just clears the screen. CLF, clear figure. Now, in order to give comment in your program, this % sign is used. And if you want to suppress the display of any value, you add this semicolon. Okay. Suppose you want to run a command like 2 plus 3. Then after writing, if you enter, after writing this at the command prompt, if you enter, it will be shown as 5. But if you write 2 plus 3 and after that you give a semicolon, then nothing will be shown. It will be kept by default. It will be saved in a default name ANS, answer, in the workspace. If you type ANS in the command prompt and press enter, then it will show the result, that is 5. Okay. ESP is the machine epsilon. INF stands for infinity in MATLAB. NaN, not a number. In MATLAB, NaN means it shows sometimes NaN, not a number. It occurs when something is divided by 0. It's a common case. Or some data operation is wrong. So you are adding integer with character, like that. This type of wrong operation is given by this type of output. Mathematical functions, once again very similar, like square root, exponential, cos, sine, mathematical operation, constant like pi. These are same keywords that you have seen in C. Array is a very powerful feature of MATLAB is array or matrix. Matrix is inputted like this. You have to give a third bracket, this type of bracket, and here you write down just the numbers giving space or comma. Okay. Array or matrix or vector. This is a row vector. Okay. Now you can transpose using this comma. This in a single inverted comma. You can transpose that matrix. So you want to access or call the first element of V, you have to write V within first bracket 1. See, in MATLAB, indexing starts from 1. In C, the indexing starts from 0. That is the big difference. Indexing here starts from 1. Now, there is a shortcut. Now, you want to access the variable 2 to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, there are 5 numbers. So, you want 2, that is 2. Second element is this one. Third, 4. So, 3, 0, 4.5. These 3 elements we want to access. So, you have to write V, 2, then a colon, then 4. So, it will display this 3, 0, and 4.5. Like that. Now, sorry. If you give a command like this, a variable a equals 1 colon 3, so it will print 1, 2, 3. So this colon indicates an increment by 1. Okay. Line space. Okay, so you take minus pi to plus pi, then comma 10. This indicates create 10 linearly placed elements from minus pi to plus pi. So it will divide this interval, numerical interval, minus pi to plus pi to 10 equal intervals and show you the result. This x will be equal to the 10 numbers from minus pi to plus pi in equally spaced. So these powerful features are there. Those are helpful for programming. Now, in order to create a matrix, so first row we can write 1, 2, 3 like this, or 1, comma 2, comma 3, comma and space are same. Okay, but if you give a colon over here, it will go to the next row. So 1, 2, 3, then first row, then second row will be 4, 5, 6. So it will create a 2 by 3 matrix, 2 row, 3 column, like that. So matrix operation can be done by a plus b, a minus b, 2 into a into b, like that. So they must, by doing this operation, you must be careful about the matrix size. And a dot into this multiply sign into b, that means element by element multiplication. So if you place a dot, then all the operation will be done element by element. Det means determinant of matrix. Suppose you have a vector. Okay, you have a vector v. Now, if you write this diag, means diagonal v, it will make a vector to a diagonal matrix. Okay. Now, if you have a matrix A, then and write diag A, then you will get diagonal of A, diagonal elements of A. Or it will keep all the diagonal elements and rest of the elements will become 0. I, not human eye, but its identity matrix. Okay. It will create one identity matrix of size n. If you multiply, if you write I, then a number, then it will create one identity matrix of that size. The zeros m comma n. So it will create a matrix of size m by n, all elements of which will be 0. Ones m comma n. It will create a matrix of size m into n, whose all elements will be 1. These are logical and conditional operators. Okay, so function is same as C language. For syntax are same as C language. So how to solve linear equation? Quite evident. Please. It's quite very helpful, this rank. By manual calculation, it's quite time consuming, but for MATLAB, it's a matter of a second, finding the rank of a given matrix. Or norm, computing the norm. For loop, it looks like This one. So here condition is for I is equal to 1 and in increment of 2 up to 5, like this. Okay, and it end, one keyword end should be there. While loop looks like this. If statements, if, then else or else if. Switch, very powerful switch statement option is there. Break for termination purpose of for and while loop. Plots. So 2D and 3D plots are a powerful feature of MATLAB. So plot is called by plot command, PLOT. Okay. Various functions, you will find some little bit changes with the various versions. There is a plot 3 command, and mesh is also a plot command. Contour, there are several types of plot. Title, how to give the title of a plot, X level, Y level, all options are there. So this is an example of how the MATLAB plot, very powerful. So all scientific work, you need to draw various graphs and curves, charts, everything is possible with MATLAB in a nice way. This is a mesh plot. Input output. You can open file, close file. You can all file operations as you have seen in C is possible with MATLAB too. You can work with data set very efficiently in MATLAB. See, fopen, there is a data file that can be opened by fopen command. Timing. If you want to work with some timing, then tick and talk two commands are there. They help us to calculate the timing operation. So there are two types of M files, script file and functions. So this, you can convert a script file to a function very easily, following some convention. So it depends upon the format. In script file, you can write anything in any manner, following the rules of MATLAB. But in functions, you have to follow certain rules over and above the standard set of rules for script files. In script file, you can also call functions. Okay, this is a brief introduction about this MATLAB. Okay, few things are there. Solution. So if you do not have MATLAB at your home, you can download the student version free of cost, or full version for a limited period. I think that will be enough to carry out this exercise that we are going to address during the coming days. So I'll share these PPTs. I'll ask you to test with these functions and very small commands that are there. Test these commands so that next day we will do some actual computer simulation that will be helpful for you to understand. So any doubt regarding today's discussion?
Sir?
Yes.
So what's the lowest version that's portable for this lab, modeling lab?
Lowest version, any version. I have no restrictions. Any MATLAB release 7, because from MATLAB 6 to MATLAB 7 there was a massive change in data structure.
Okay,
so very
no
old, let me finish. Any very old program. Sometimes you will get very old old MATLAB programs in many book software. Okay, some authors share their MATLAB code that may be quite old, so you can run them MATLAB version 6.5 and before. Okay, they will not run on new versions. They'll give error because data structure is different. From MATLAB 7 onwards, data structure is same, but every year they go on adding some new functionalities. If you have MATLAB 18, it's okay, very good version. So I recommend any MATLAB version after 2014.
Okay, sir.
That will be better because you will get most of the required functions. But I think most of you will get MATLAB 16 at least very easily. Many, I should not say this officially, many good people are there around the world who are there to help students like you who are very eager to learn many things, engineering aspects of various domains. They are very kind enough to share old versions or even new versions of MATLAB with crack files. How to crack the new versions, they have given tutorials. But remember, you should be very careful while downloading the cracks. Most of the times they are corrupted by a virus, particularly Trojan virus. So you should be very much careful. After downloading, you must scan it with some good antivirus. Okay, then only you unzip it or open the image. So what once happened to me, I downloaded a crack and that was full of some unknown virus. And that time it happened in 2006. No antivirus was present, so I was in a dilemma what to do. Then finally I found one person very expert in computer virus in some forum. He helped me to recover my data, and then I formatted my computer. Anyway, so if you do not have any doubt right now, you can ask me on WhatsApp. So let me end the session for today.